The rooms here echo the rustic beauty of the Blue Ridge Mountains and have everything you need for your top-of-the-world escape, including your own private porch. Guests of the inn and daytime visitors alike have access to the gorgeous grounds, complete with places to kick back and relax and trails to explore. And before you head home, you have to visit the crafts and gift shop for fun souvenirs and efforts. You need to know that this stretch of America's favorite drive is open and ready and waiting for you. And I can't think of a better place to visit than the Pisgah Inn. To learn more and plan your visit, go to openroadshow.com. Your weekend is waiting on the Ingalls Open Road.
7 News, proudly serving you with these translators.
Good morning. It is August 2nd, 2025. Welcome to CBS Saturday Morning. Hiring and firing. President Trump angry over the latest job numbers, calls them rigged, and then fires the statistics chief over them. We'll have the latest on the controversy.
Montana manhunt. An intense search is underway after a gunman kills 4 people at a bar. Hear what we know about the suspect.
Prison transfer controversy. Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is moved to a lower security prison days after meeting in private with President Trump's former lawyer and current Deputy Attorney General. What it may mean for her future.
And tackling menopause. After years of suffering in silence, a new generation of women is making symptoms like hot flashes a hot topic. Hear the different ways these women are curbing the side effects and social pressures of the change.
But first, we begin this morning with a look at today's eye-opener.
A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
President Donald Trump announced on Friday that he's ordered 2 nuclear submarines to move into strategic areas closer to Russia.
Trump says comments from Russian ex-president Dmitry Medvedev boasting about Moscow's military might aren't too provocative.
A gunman is on the run after police say he shot and killed 4 people inside a Montana bar.
Police releasing this photo of the suspect, 45-year-old Michael Brown.
Contact and soft capture complete.
After a flight lasting almost 16 hours, the SpaceX Dragon is now docked with the International Space Station. Astronauts from the SpaceX capsule are now on board the station.
Scary moments for a Brazilian television reporter just as she was about to go live on the air.
A would-be thief on a motorbike tried to steal a cell phone.
Reporter Clara Neary says she was able to retrieve her phone because the thief dropped it.
A close call for a 12-year-old wake surfer as an alligator swims behind her.
Then I looked again and I was like, that's a big gator.
Video shows Clara completely unfazed by the sighting. She even smiles back at the camera.
A bombshell out of Cowboys training camp.
Cowboys superstar Micah Parsons has requested a trade.
Made a long post on social media. He details how the front office has not reached out to his agent to negotiate a new deal.
Some 60,000 Grateful Dead fans are filling San Francisco's Golden Gate Park.
3 days of concerts celebrating the 60th anniversary for the Grateful Dead. Original band members Bob Weir and Mickey Hart play alongside John Mayer and others.
This morning's Eye Opener is presented by Progressive, making it easy to bundle insurance.
Some happy deadheads.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Welcome to the weekend, everybody. I'm Dana Jacobson, along with Michelle Miller. And this morning, we're going to take you back to Northern California, to Mavericks Beach specifically, where we're going to talk with a surfer who may have just set a world record for riding the biggest wave. See how he pulled it off and how big that wave may have actually been.
We are rooting for him. Then we'll go to Pixar Studios to talk to an actor who won over kids with his voice work, but also cracked up adults with his Emmy-winning turn on Veep. and beloved role in Arrested Development. We'll chat with Tony Hale about overcoming his early anxiety, and we'll test his sketching skills ahead of the release of his new film, aptly entitled Sketch.
Then here in New York City, they are the couple that went viral for tasty treats like their mini croissant cereals. On the dish, we're going to visit Le Palmette 4F, a bakery born inside a tiny Brooklyn apartment. Apologies throughout the show for bad French pronunciation.
Then Glenn Hansard and Marquetta Ericlava paired up to win an Oscar for the movie musical Once. Since then, they've released 3 albums as the folk duo The Swell Season. They'll perform from their first album in 15 years later on in our Saturday session. That and so much more is all ahead. But we begin with this morning's top story, the whirlwind of economic news roiling markets and potentially causing political fallout. On Friday, the Labor Department reported the economy added 73,000 jobs in July. It was a sharp slowdown in hiring and short of economists' expectations.
The report also revised down the May and June hiring numbers by more than 250,000 jobs. The markets recoiled at that news. The Dow, S&P 500 and NASDAQ all taking steep losses for the day and the week. Late Friday afternoon, President Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which produces the monthly employment report. He claimed without evidence that the numbers were rigged. All of this playing out amid the backdrop of the president's new wave of tariff demands from America's trading partners. We begin this morning with Willie James Inman, who is traveling with the president in New Jersey. Willie, good morning.
Good morning to you both, Dana and Michelle. President Trump's decision to levy additional tariffs on dozens of trading partners is really sending concern with businesses across the country as they face a new tariff reality.
Just hours before his August 1st deadline, in an executive order, President Trump slapped additional tariffs on more than 60 countries, ranging from about 10% to as high as 41%. The list includes negotiated rates for major trading partners like Japan and South Korea, but there are notable exceptions, including Mexico and China, which remain in trade talks with the U.S. Separately, America's second largest trading partner, Canada, was slapped with a 35% tariff rate on some of its imports, up from 25%. The White House claims Canada hasn't done enough to stop the flow of illicit drugs.
Well, they have to pay a fair rate. It's all. It's very simple.
Trump said his August 1st negotiating deadline was firm, but these new levies will not go into effect until August 7th. A White House official said the delay allows U.S. Customs time to prepare for the tariffs.
There's definitely going to be a few different casualties, so we're expecting to just not have access to a lot of things.
Thea Merle is the co-owner of Nido Wine Shop and Market. 90% of her products are imported, including many wines from the Mediterranean. The president reached a deal for a 15% tariff on European Union goods, but there is currently no exemption for European wine.
It's not as if the tariffs getting pushed through is going to uplift the American wine industry. You know, so in every direction you will be paying a premium for things that normally would be accessible.
As a small business, Merle says she cannot afford to absorb extra costs from higher tariffs compared to what she paid last year.
So some of your products that you currently have on the shelf now, you're not going to be able to replace them down the line because of tariffs.
Or if we do, they will be at a much higher price point.
Earlier this week, a federal appeals court held oral arguments in a case brought by a handful of small businesses in at least 12 states challenging the president's authority to implement those tariffs. Now, if the court sides against the administration, that could throw a wrench into the president's tariff plans, and any development in this case could likely end up before the Supreme Court. Dana?
Never-ending story. Willie, thank you very much. And for more on the tariffs, employment data, and how it's all tied together, we are joined now by CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. Kelly, in the economy, we added jobs in July, but this still is seen as a miss in the report. What stood out to you in this?
So just to put this into context, I mean, 73,000 added in July. That's not a good number. It is paling in comparison to the first 3-month average, where we added 111,000, if you look at that, of how it shakes out. But I don't want anyone to panic over their coffee right now, because we didn't see mass firings. The unemployment rate still stood at 4.2%. It ticked up a little bit, but that's still within a healthy range. The two things that really stood out to me, though, is this confirms what we have been hearing, and just the feeling that there has been a labor market slowdown. People are taking longer to find a job. Less people are quitting because they feel, well, I'm not going to be able to go out and find something else. And so it really showed up in the data. And then where you did see the job growth, which was healthcare and social services, there's a skills mismatch. If I get fired, I'm not going to be able to go get a job in healthcare, right? So where the job openings aren't necessarily matching up with where people are looking.
Well, the president's been steadily asking for lower interest rates. Do you see that happening at any point?
This is very possible. We had a Federal Reserve interest rate meeting this week. They didn't change rates. Right. And the whole idea was, well, we don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs, and we have to make sure that we keep inflation in check while also keep the labor market growing. But you mentioned those job revisions. And so what that tells you is this July thing, it's not a 1-month thing. This has been happening month after month at this point. And so when I think about what the Federal Reserve is going to do, I go back to September 2024. That was when they did the half-point rate cut. It was the first rate cut after all of that inflation. It came after 3 months of low job growth. Now, we have the wild card of tariffs and how that's going to impact inflation. And we've got an inflation and a jobs report before they cut again, so there's going to be a lot more data.
You mentioned the tariffs, and I said to you while we were watching, this is like this has just been going on for a year, and it's the same thing. Like, prices could go up and the market may go down. What do you expect to see right now with where we are in regards to tariffs when it comes to the market and prices for us?
Yes. So, well, and I'll just correct myself, because I said before they cut again, before they make a decision again. When it comes to the market volatility that we just saw, it was because there was uncertainty. I think investors had really gotten comfortable with, okay, here are the tariff rates. This is when they're going to go into effect. And then things shifted on Thursday night. And then you had this weaker than expected jobs report. So if we see more uncertainty, more bad data, you're going to see more market volatility. In terms of prices, it takes a few months for that to flow through to me and you. And we have those price increases, tariffs coming in a couple of days. It's also about who is going to absorb it. Do businesses just say, hey, I'm going to take the hit?
So we still don't know.
Right? Are you and I going to get it? Or are companies that are selling goods into America going to lower their import prices? So a lot of different dynamics happening.
You know, a lot during the last administration, we heard the R word. We haven't heard so much about the possibility of recession. Will these economic trade wins signal that?
So there was a lot of discussion about that in April when the reciprocal tariffs that the White House was calling it were put in place, and then they were walked back. You aren't going to see that become a real possibility in the discussion unless we see that job growth continue to slow over the next few months and we see consumer spending really slow down, because economic growth, 2/3 of it in this country is driven by consumer spending, and that's where the recession comes in.
Kelly O'Grady, we so appreciate you wrapping it up. Frustration and anger this morning from the victims of convicted sex traffickers Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The Trump administration has transferred Maxwell to a different prison without alerting Maxwell's victims. The family of one victim calls it an outrage and inappropriate leniency for Maxwell, who they fear might soon secure a presidential pardon. Justice correspondent Scott McFarland is in Washington.
For a full month, the Trump administration has tried to extinguish the fiery controversy over the case of Jeffrey Epstein and whether some of Epstein's crimes and cohorts are being covered up by the government. In a controversial move Friday, the administration added more fuel to the fire. Convicted sex predator Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred from a federal prison in Florida to the Bryan Federal Correctional Facility in Texas, outside of Houston. It's a smaller, less populated facility and considered a prison camp.
She's keeping her spirits up.
The move happened exactly 1 week after Maxwell and her defense attorney, David Marcus, sat for an interview with Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche to talk about her case and the Jeffrey Epstein case. In a statement issued Friday, relatives of Virginia Giuffre, Epstein's most vocal and visible abuse victim, blasted the Trump administration for transferring Maxwell, calling it a horror and outrage and preferential treatment. Earlier this week, Giuffre's family said they feared the president would pardon Maxwell.
The word that comes to mind is it would be an abomination.
The president has not ruled out clemency for Maxwell. Adam Rosenberg is a child safety advocate in Baltimore.
This talk of pardons in politics on the issue of a sex trafficker, you think that's traumatizing to victims?
I think what makes it traumatizing to victims when we hear about pardons and all this work of trafficking is that, again, the rich and powerful are getting a pass, and what about me? And I think as we look at what are the solutions that need to be out there, rather than spending all this energy on the Epstein case, and let's focus our energy locally on rooting out trafficking in our own communities.
We asked Maxwell's defense attorney if a pardon is being discussed or negotiated, and he has not responded. Maxwell has 12 more years to serve in prison for her sex trafficking conviction. For CBS Saturday Morning, Scott McFarland, Washington.
President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is in Tel Aviv this morning to meet the families of Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Protesters there are calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war and bring the remaining hostages home. Witkoff's meeting comes a day after he visited a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution center. Hundreds of Palestinians have been killed trying to access aid near the centers in recent weeks. Deborah Pata joins us now from East Jerusalem with more. Deborah, good morning.
Good morning. Human Rights Watch says Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza by weaponizing starvation and killing aid seekers. The New York-based group says the Israeli-backed and U.S.-funded Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has turned aid distribution centers into bloodbaths. A tidal wave of people with the little food they have secured in their daily fight to ward off hunger. International experts warned this week that a worst-case scenario of famine is now playing out in Gaza, where aid has either been blocked or severely restricted since March. Ibrahim Daim is an amputee, forced to make this perilous journey for food in his wheelchair to feed his children. I must face death itself just to get a bag of flour. If I don't, we starve, he said. But it is flour mixed with blood. Amidst global outrage, Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff visited a GHF distribution site in Rafah on Friday, which he said was to understand the situation and craft a plan to deliver food and medical aid. Palestinians, most of them displaced, hope his visit ends the suffering, but some remain skeptical. I still don't understand what he's coming here to do, said Hayam Jondia. Did he come to give us food? The GHF has been mired in controversy since it opened at the end of May. Hundreds of people have been killed by Israeli fire at their 4 distribution sites, according to witnesses, health officials, and the UN's Human Rights Office. Israel and the GHF say they have only fired warning shots and that the toll has been exaggerated. Israel has allowed the UN to bring in more aid trucks, but humanitarian workers say distributing it is very difficult. The war has not stopped. They are delayed at roadblocks and often looted by Palestinians so crazed with hunger they will do anything to get food. Michelle?
Deborah Pata in East Jerusalem, thank you. We have much more to come, but right now, here's a look at the weather for your...
A good Saturday. We're going to see a little bit more of the rain, especially during the afternoon, but look at these temperatures today and tomorrow. We'll have highs in the mid-70s. The rain will continue, as well as the cooler temperatures, upper 70s, low 80s, even into the end of the week, with a better chance of rain Tuesday, Wednesday. Same for in the mountains, much cooler temperatures.
Coming up, Montana manhunt. The search is on for a military veteran police say killed 4 people inside a bar. We'll have the latest details on the investigation and what we're learning about the suspect.
Then, as weather disasters increase and intensify, how prepared are your finances? We're going to talk with a financial advisor about the money matters he says everyone should have in order.
And later, soothing sounds. The Texas boy tapping into the power of music to help give vulnerable pets peace, harmony, and a chance at a forever home. You're watching CBS Saturday Morning. I knew you'd like it.
A good voice, yeah. And a good boy.
This is Saturday Morning on CBS.
The Spartanburg County primary is Tuesday. One station is committed